Okay, so you have this problem in the book that you might be having trouble with. So let's start with this. I separated this one into sentence by sentence. When you have a long word problem, it actually is easier to, it will help you if you would read it carefully and sentence per sentence, okay? Alright, so let's start with this one. Pauline saved 2,380 in 3 months. She saved, okay, second line, she saved $120 more in Feb than in January. Okay, third line, she saved half as much in Feb as in March. And the question is, how much did she save? Okay, so for me, I would read this one again. And the reason for that is so we can figure out where would we start. Okay, so in the second line, it says 120 more in Feb than in January. So therefore, she saved more in February than January. On the third line, it says she saved half as much in Feb as in March. So I would really like to start with March here because March is the amount in March is smaller in February, and so it will help you not to have to work with fractions. Alright, so let's start with this box that represents the amount of money in March. Okay, so let's read again the third line. She saved half as much in February as in March. So if you have like one box for March, how many boxes would you have in February? Okay, so that means you would have to have 2 boxes in February, right? Because one box is half of 2 boxes. So that would be your February. Alright, so let's go back to the second line. She saved $120 more in Feb than in January. So we know that she definitely saved less in January. Alright, so this will be our January. But we need to have some sort of relationship between January and February. And it did say that she saved $120 more in February than in January. So we need to add 120 in your January to make it the same as your Feb, right? Okay, so that's 120. Okay, so make sure you understand these boxes. Alright, let's review. Okay, so this one box represents March, 2 boxes represents February, and for your January, since January is 120 less your February, so that's your February here is your 2 boxes. You subtract 120 to that will represent your January, right? Okay, now let's go back to the first line. Okay, it did say that she saved 2,380 in 3 months. So therefore, all this representation, we add them all up together, and that should be equal to 2,380. Okay, so we have 1 box for March, plus the 2 boxes in February, plus the 2 boxes minus 120 for January, and you all add up all of those numbers, that would be equal to 2,380. Now all the similar things you add together, like you have 1 box plus 2 boxes plus 3 plus 2 boxes, so you add all the boxes, so basically you have 5 boxes. But do not forget that you need to subtract 120 to that, and that would still be equal to 2,380. Now let's stay on this statement for a while. 5 boxes minus 120 is equal to 2,380. Now let's forget about that for a while, and I have a side question for you. Say for example, you have a certain amount of money that you don't know how much actually, and then you spent $5, and the remaining money after spending $5 is $15. So my question is, how much did you originally have? Okay, if you spent $5 and your remaining money is 15, how much did you have? So you would know that you just have to add your whatever money you spent and the remaining money, right? So that would be 5 plus 20. 5 plus 15. So therefore you have 20 as your original money. It always works that way. Say for example, I'll give you another example. Say for example, you spent $2 and now your remaining money is $8. How much did you originally have? So you just add the expenditure and the remaining money. So that's 2 plus 8. You have 10. So it's the same thing here. If you have 5 boxes, you subtract 120 from it, and the remaining is 2,380. How much would 5 boxes be? So therefore, you just add 120 and 2,380. So therefore, your 5 boxes would be 2,500. That should be 2,500. Okay, so alright, so that's 2,500. Now, from this line here, you have 5 boxes is equal to 2,500. Okay, so say for example you have $2,500. Okay, and you have to put them equally into 5 boxes. How much would one box be? How much would you have in one box? So that means you have to divide it by 5 to have equal amount, right? So therefore your one box is equal to $500. Okay, now let's go back to your drawing on top. One box here represents just March, right? One box. So therefore in March she saved $500. Okay, so that's for March. But in your question, the question is February. So we need to go back to your February, which is represented by 2 boxes. So if one box is 500, therefore 2 boxes is equal to $1,000. So that's for your February. Now, if there's an additional question like you'd like to find out how much the January money is, then you just subtract 1,000 by 120 for you to get January. Okay.